In 2009, Forbes magazine estimated that Roger Federer was worth $100 million.
And if you want to be successful, you got to put in the work.
Just 8 years later, that figure has increased multiple times. With an estimated net worth of $1 billion, Federer is now the first tennis player to become a billionaire. So how did he achieve such incredible success? Welcome to the Peak Performance Channel, the place where you come to be inspired to create a more prosperous future. In 1999, a teenage Roger Federer walked out onto the tennis court at Wimbledon for the first time. He was ranked outside the top 100 and was seen as a big long shot to win the tournament. But by the time he left that same court 18 years later, he had cemented his place as one of the greatest tennis players of all time. In 2017, Forbes ranked him as the highest paid athlete in the world, with earnings of $106 million. And in 2020, he became the first tennis player to reach almost $1 billion in his career. So how did Federer go from being a rank outsider to becoming a global superstar? Well, let me walk you through the major turning points of his journey. It all started with his natural talent. From an early age, Federer showed signs that he was destined for greatness. He grew up playing tennis in his native Switzerland and quickly developed into a top junior player. By the time he turned professional in 1998, he was already hailed as a future star. But what really sets Federer apart is his work ethic. Throughout his career, he has continually strived to improve his game. Even after winning 20 Grand Slam titles, he remains hungry for more success. This dedication has helped him to stay at the top of his sport well into his 30s, an almost unheard of feat in tennis. In a podcast hosted by internet pioneers Shan Puri and Sam Parr, My First Million, Puri examined Roger Federer's financial transactions managed by his agent Tony Godsick, and how he became one of the few athletes to become a millionaire in episode 367, which aired on September the 27th. And here's what Puri had to say about it. 90% of Roger Federer's money didn't come from winning tennis championships. So he's won almost $130 million in tournament prize money and has 20 Grand Slam titles. But the majority of his money comes from other sources. Even when he was the top player, they would pay Andy Roddick more because they thought, Andy Roddick, he's American. Federer's Swiss and the Swiss market has a small population. He's this clean and uninteresting man. He doesn't have the big personality, and even though he's incredibly talented, he's not as marketable or sellable as they used to tell him. So he was getting significantly smaller endorsement contracts. Clothing lines were paying Andy Roddick more than they were paying Roger Federer, and he wasn't making much money with Nike in the first place. Then he talks about how he went on and got a $10 million a year deal with Nike, and it's like, well, you made it. You should be grateful for this $10 million a year contract. You're done, your family's set, whatever. But Federer made two decisions, or rather one decision led to two other ones, which resulted in an extra $600 million. And here's what those two were. So the first is that his contract with Nike is about to expire, and the idea is that he'll just renew with Nike. And when he goes to the company, he says, hey, I'm one of the top tennis players in the world. What are you going to do for me? And they're like, Roger, we put so much marketing behind you. The reality is you can't compare yourself to basketball players or to soccer players. Tennis is just a different thing. Here's the best we could do, and they made him a bargain. And the deal was simply that every year you play, you earn X amount of money and something close to what he was getting at the time. But Federer said, you know what, I'm going to pause here. I'm just not going to take this deal. In fact, I'm going to go shop around a little bit more and see what I can do. And then Uniqlo comes with this insane deal. And Uniqlo, which isn't really in the sportswear industry but has a tennis vibe, is attempting to enter the Western market. So Uniqlo approaches him and offers him a 10-year contract for $300 million that pays him even after he retires. He signed this contract knowing that he will retire within the term of the contract and that he will be paid $30 million a year to do so. But Federer returns to Nike and says to them, hey guys, come on, I've received this offer. Can you make me an offer on this as well? And they answered no. But we'll throw this in. Here's like an extra free t-shirt or something, but you're not getting a new deal. So Roger's like, all right then. And he walked out the door. But he did know one thing, Uniqlo doesn't produce shoes. He agrees to the Uniqlo contract. He starts wearing Uniqlo, yet he still wears Nike sneakers. And at a press conference, they question him, "Roger, I see you're still wearing your Nike." He was asked, "Are you allowed to?" And his reply was, "Yes, I don't have an agreement with them. I'm just still looking about. We'll see what's available to me. But it's exciting, I like to see what's out there." So in fact, he's been wearing Nikes for free for 3 years because he's simply playing in them. He doesn't have a shoe contract. And then eventually he lands a shoe deal with the On Running brand. And they're another Swiss company taking over the world and generating more than $1 billion in revenue. In fact, they went public at a high valuation of $11 billion, with market corrections bringing it back closer to $6 billion. Now here's a quick reminder before we continue, make sure you smash that like button and hit the subscribe and notification button if you haven't already done so, as it means that YouTube sends you more of these kinds of videos, and of course it helps our channel as well. Now let's get back to the video. So Roger owns 3% of the brand in exchange for an equity arrangement. And he says, "Alright, I get it, you guys don't have the same cash that these guys can offer, but how about a piece of the company?" And as a result, he holds 3% of the company at its greatest investment, which is worth $300 million. So if you gamble on yourself and then conduct an equity deal, don't exchange money for time. Trade your brand for shares, then for equity, and you have $300 million. But what else can I do? He asked himself. So he takes matters into his own hands and cuts ties with his current representation business. To represent him and other players, he establishes his own player management firm. He creates his own tournaments with his own cup, the Lever Cup. It's equivalent to the Ryder Cup in golf, where it's Europe versus the world. Now he has his own competition thing going on, and an empire that's made him over $1 billion in total, 90% of which comes from sources other than prize money for playing tennis matches. And in order to appeal to a higher-end market, he chose more luxurious sponsors like Mercedes-Benz, Rolex and Lindor Chocolate. He didn't do what Jordan did by partnering with Coca-Cola and McDonald's. Instead, he went straight to the niche market that would be able to pay him well. So not only did he bet on himself and take matters into his own hands, but he played a patient game, a long game. Most people would have given up after a few years without a shoe deal when they saw how much money they could be making. They might think, look, I'm missing out on $5 to $10 million a year by not signing this contract. Well, Federer's legendary career came to an end at the 2022 Lever Cup in London, when he announced his retirement. With a combination of talent and brain, that's how Roger Federer became the first tennis billionaire. Thank you for being all ears throughout the entire video. To create his effort, to copy his genius, Albert Einstein. And if you want to expand your income by building an online income, well, feel free to contact me so we'll get things moving right away. And remember, if you want to change your life, let's make a change together. You need to make a change.